So now it's all about Fernando Mendoza and Clint Kubiak, and the Raiders get lucky, fortunate to have that first pick. He cut down on his sacks dramatically from Cal to this year at Indiana. He got the ball to all those receivers accurately, clutch situations. The way the decision-making, Rich, late in the play that he made on a consistent basis was remarkable.
On April 23rd, 2026, the Las Vegas Raiders will do something they have not done in the modern era. They will draft a quarterback with the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. That player will be Fernando Mendoza. For Raiders fans, this pick will represent more than just a new player, it represents a total shift in how this franchise operates. The story of Fernando Mendoza is not a typical one, it is a story of a player who was overlooked at a mid-tier program, betting on himself in the transfer portal and delivering one of the greatest individual seasons in the history of college football. In 2025, Mendoza miraculously led the Indiana Hoosiers, yes, the Indiana Hoosiers, to an undefeated season and a national championship. He won the Heisman Trophy, he proved that he could take a program with very little football history and turn them into the best program in the country. Now, he's going to be entering a Las Vegas Raiders organization that is perfectly positioned to support him. With over $100 million in cap space, a Super Bowl winning offensive mind in Clint Kubiak, and two of the best young playmakers in the league in Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers, the Raiders are no longer trying to lose games, they are loading up. Today, we look at the rise of Fernando Mendoza and why the Raiders are the new team to watch in the AFC.
The setback out of the shotgun. Mendoza's pass is caught. This time he
To understand why Mendoza is the #1 pick, you have to look back at his time in Berkeley. Mendoza arrived at the University of California with very little national media attention. He was a mid-level recruit who had to fight for every snap he received. During the 2023 and 2024 season at Cal, Mendoza showed the traits that NFL scouts valued the most: size, accuracy, and IQ. At 6'5" and 225 pounds, he had the frame of a traditional pocket passer, but he also showed a surprising ability to move within the pocket to avoid pressure. If you look at his stats at Cal, you would see a steady progression. In 2023, he took over as a starter. He completed 63% of his passes for 1,708 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. He proved that he could handle a pro-style offense and led the team to some success. In 2024, however, Mendoza took another big step forward. On the year, he threw for 3,004 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. However, the most important part of this time at Cal was not just the stats, it was his leadership. He was known for staying late in the film room and being a vocal leader in the locker room. But by the end of 2024, it was clear that Mendoza had outgrown the situation at Cal. He needed a bigger platform with more talent to prove that he was an NFL prospect.
Mendoza checks it down. Thomas is met immediately, got it away, Mendoza!
So, he entered the transfer portal and the college football world would change forever. When Fernando Mendoza announced he was transferring to Indiana for the 2025 season, many analysts were skeptical. Indiana was historically one of the worst programs in the Big Ten. However, Curt Cignetti had given the franchise hope after a playoff berth in the 2024 season. Mendoza saw an opportunity to work with an elite coaching staff that would refine his skill set to be a better and more well-rounded player. What happened next was unprecedented. Indiana did not just win, they dominated. The Indiana Hoosiers and Fernando Mendoza made their mark on the college football season as soon as Week 4, with a dominant 63-10 victory over Illinois. Just a few weeks later, they would go on to beat then third-ranked Oregon 30-20, a game in which Fernando Mendoza looked great in. They would finish the regular season undefeated, not really being tested outside of maybe a Penn State game that got away from them at one point, but then Fernando Mendoza would make some of the best plays of his career, ended by an Omar Cooper touchdown that will go down in the history book.
Mendoza in trouble! It's out! Touchdown! Wow! Omar Cooper!
Then they made it to the Big Ten championship game. Everyone thought Ohio State was just going to crush the Indiana Hoosiers. Ohio State was ranked #1. They had Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Julian Sayin, and of course Jeremiah Smith. But despite the fact that Ohio State might have 5 players drafted in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, it was the Indiana Hoosiers who looked like the more dominant and prepared team. Indiana would win the game 13-10. In the Big Ten Championship, Mendoza threw for 15 of 23 for 222 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. They entered into the playoffs as the #1 seed and by far the favorite to win it all. They would go up against Alabama in round 1 and dominated a 38-3 victory, a game in which Fernando only completed 14 passes. But then in the semifinals, in a rematch against the Oregon Ducks, Fernando Mendoza would go nuclear. completing 17 of 20 passes for 177 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. They would win that game 56-22, clinching a national championship bid. In the national championship, they would square off against the Miami Hurricanes. Miami was known for their physicality, with guys like Reuben Bain Jr., Mark Fletcher, and Akeem Mesidor carrying the team this far. And in the national championship, Indiana would take the lead early and looked like they were going to run away with it, but Miami stuck in there. This was a 4-quarter game, but ultimately, when it came down to it, Fernando Mendoza made the plays. Capped off by one of his best plays of his entire college career, this play.
He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way first and go diving toward the end zone. Touchdown!
Indiana and Fernando Mendoza would go on to win the game 27-21 and complete one of the greatest stories and comebacks in professional college history. By the time that people started putting their big boards together for the 2026 NFL Draft, it was undisputed who the #1 quarterback was going to be, Fernando Mendoza. He is the projected and consensus #1 pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. And while that might scare some people because of the Raiders' history, I think the future for the Raiders actually looks pretty good. They just hired Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator and Super Bowl champion for the Seattle Seahawks. Kubiak's system is known for its balance. He comes from the Shanahan and Kubiak coaching tree. The system is based on the outside zone run game. The goal is to make every play look the same at the start, whether it's a run to the left or a play action pass. The offensive line all moves the same way. This can confuse linebackers and safeties. For a rookie quarterback like Mendoza, this system can be a gift. Kubiak uses a massive amount of pre-snap motion. By moving receivers and tight ends before the ball is snapped, the quarterback can see if the defense is in man or zone coverage. Kubiak is also a master of spacing. He designs plays that put defenders in a conflict of interest. He will send a receiver deep to clear out the secondary, then have a tight end like Brock Bowers run a route into that empty space. Mendoza's job will be to stay on schedule, make the easy throws, and use his arm talent to hit the deep shots when they are available. It is a high percentage offense that values efficiency over risky plays.
Now he goes in motion. Here's a snap. A quick throw to Sarandi. He catches the ball in the end zone and nobody around.
Most rookie quarterbacks will join a team that have 0 to no talents. Look at Cam Ward. That will not be the case for Mendoza. He is walking into an offense that already has 2 of the most dangerous playmakers in the NFL. First, let's talk about Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty is entering his 2nd year in the NFL. In 2025, his season was marked by incompetent coaching and poor offensive line play. Still, he is a powerful runner that has elite contact balance that can also make the play with the ball as a receiver. In Kubiak's system, the running back is one of the more important players besides the quarterback, and Jeanty's ability to run the outside zone and inside zone will force defenses to put more players in the box. When they do that, Mendoza should have one-on-one matchups on the outside. Then there is Brock Bowers. Now entering his 3rd year, Bowers is already considered one of the top 3 tight ends in the world. He is a matchup nightmare. He is too fast for linebackers to cover and too big for corners to tackle. In the 2025 season, despite Brock missing several games, he managed to lead the team with 64 receptions, come 2nd with 680 receiving yards, and led the team in receiving touchdowns with 7. He can become Mendoza's safety valve. If the defenses bring a blitz, Mendoza knows he can throw the ball in Brock Bowers' general direction, and Bowers will likely come down with it. Having an elite tight end is a rookie quarterback's best friend. With Jeanty in the backfield and Bowers at tight end, Mendoza does not have to be a superhero. He just has to get the ball to his playmakers in space. The final piece of the puzzle is the Raiders' financial situation. Because Mendoza is on a rookie contract, the Raiders have a massive amount of cap space, and this can be a huge advantage. The Raiders can go into free agency and buy the best players available. They can fix some of their biggest weaknesses, the offensive line and defense, by signing several Pro Bowlers or quality role players. They can add a veteran wide receiver to help mentor Mendoza. They can add more depth to defense to ensure that Mendoza doesn't have to win 40 to 38 shootouts every week. And in general, they can make the roster significantly better. The Raiders can actually try and win now. Because they have a cheap and hopefully high-performing quarterback, they can now overspend on some elite talent at other positions. We have seen other teams, for example, like the Houston Texans, try and take advantage of their young quarterback's contract by adding elite talent around him to see if they can potentially win it all while having a cheap quarterback. The Raiders have some talent, they have the coach, and well, they have the money.
Looking to throw it, has time, rolls to his right now, and now throws it down the field, and wide open is E.J. Williams to the 25, down to the 10, the 5, touchdown Indiana!
The 2026 season will be one of the more anticipated years in Raiders history. Fernando Mendoza is the face of a new era. He's a national champion, a Heisman winner, and now the leader of the Silver and Black. The expectations are high, but the infrastructure is in place. Clint Kubiak will provide the scheme, Ashton Jeanty will provide the ground game, Brock Bowers will provide the targets, and the $100 million in cap space will provide the reinforcements. Fernando Mendoza's story started at Berkeley, it was perfected in Bloomington, and it will be written in Las Vegas. The Raiders are no longer a team of the past, they are a team of the future. And you know what they say, just win, baby. What do you think of the Mendoza pick? Can a rookie quarterback take the Raiders to the playoffs in year one? Please let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.